Okay, so I'm back here again. Just wanted to kind of show you what's been going on. So I got the vehicle back on those ramps right there. It takes me a little bit of time because I try to be very cautious when I want to get it up there. One of the biggest things to keep in mind is that you have to make sure that aside from the e-brake, you do something like this. I know this doesn't seem like much. I just put a piece of wood back there. All that's going to do is kind of stop it there from rolling backwards in case the e-brake fails. So I'm going to begin and get ready to start doing this. Just so you know, I think I did not mention this in the previous video. So this is the kind of filter this vehicle takes. This is a 20,000 mile oil filter for this vehicle that goes internally. The XG9972 Fram Ultra Synthetic filter. Very, very reliable. I personally change it every time that I do an oil change. You don't necessarily have to. The only downfall is that where this thing sits, you'll still have some dirty oil in there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm going to start off by getting rid of some of this, some of these things that I need to do. I need to open up the oil cap. It's a little tight sometimes. I don't know if it's pressure or what, but okay. So now it's working. I'm taking it off now. There we go. You can see there's a residue in this oil. It's you can clearly see it's not good anymore. It's dirty and it's got to be changed. So that's what I'm going to do today. Make sure that you find a safe place to put your oil cap at, so it doesn't fall somewhere and then you can't find it. There's a pretty decent spot right there. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to fall through or anything like that, so it'll sit still there. The other thing you want to do is the dipstick. You want to pull it out and just kind of leave it like that for now and let it some, what you're doing with these two methods right here, taking the oil cap off and pulling the dipstick, is you're allowing some airflow, so that way as you begin to drain the oil, it circulates and it's not being held up. It just drains right through. Okay, so let's see here. Now I'm going to this is going to be the last thing I do after the oil pan is fully drained. I'm going to wait until that's done before I can go ahead and unscrew the filter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my little lay down cart here, roll cart. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get down here. Don't forget that you also gotta have some of these things, some of these sockets, because you're gonna need those. Okay, so we gotta make sure that we have the right tools. You can't supplement things when it comes to this kind of work. You gotta make sure you have the right stuff. If you don't have it, you could always get it somewhere else. You can get it to another auto parts or whatever. But mainly, the biggest thing here is knowing what you got to do in terms of tools. So I got a nice little ratchet here that I'm going to be using. You don't want to use those air or electrical ratchets when you are taking the plug out of the oil pan. You don't want to basically ruin the thread. So you be mindful when it comes to that, okay? It's very important. I believe that this vehicle, you may be looking at a 5/8 or 9/16. I'm going to test those two out. I don't do this all the time, but I think depending on what size plug you have, you may want to utilize those two, because those two are probably one of those two is going to be it. So let's go down here and start making some movement in terms of making sure that you're getting your oil pan underneath. This is not very cheap here, but it does the job. All the oil, once it drains from the oil pan, it goes in here. And then you can seal those 2 holes right there, and then drain it into one of these containers that I have here. You can take it to your local Walmart place, and they'll dispose of the oil, but they will not dispose of the containers. So you can either reuse the container, bring it back, or maybe find a place to recycle it, maybe your local waste dump. They might have something like that for some kind of recycling program. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the oil pan underneath the vehicle. Just for now, I'm just going to leave it there. One of the things that I forgot to mention was, or actually not mention, but more so do, is the following. So I got so excited to do this video and I forgot to do my stands. So that's the next step I'm gonna do with it, because I want to ensure that I'm being safe. So it's important to be safe. It's important to not put yourself at risk just because just because you want to ensure that you're being as careful and as cautious as possible. Okay, that's very fundamental in this kind of procedure. If you don't do this, you could be definitely putting yourself at risk to injury, and even in some situations, finding yourself in a situation where you definitely don't want a vehicle to fall on you. Okay, that's not good at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually do this. Come down here. Not too worried about getting dirty. The ground's a little wet, but as you can see here, I am going to be placing this right underneath the undercarriage, bringing it up as much as I can. So, right on the chassis. And what's going to happen is, or what would happen if this vehicle was to fall out from these ramps here, then we'd be in a situation where these towers would actually hold the vehicle on the air. So I think many of you know that, but these are kind of ramps that are made out of fiberglass, very sturdy, because as you know, they use resin in these things, but I don't have full trust in them. So just keep that in mind. So you do the same thing for the other side, and you should be good to go to get underneath this vehicle and start the work.